good many dramatic situations begin with screaming.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today is Sam Stepanenko.
Hello, hello, hello.
And our resident Barbarella and
I look nothing like
Mistress
Barbarella.
of the Galaxy, Trish Conklin.
Awesome. See, I'd like to go into space, but I definitely look nothing like Barbarella.
Well, the whole thing, Mistress of the Galaxy, makes complete sense after watching the movie again. I don't think I got that sort of whole...
I don't think I got that catchphrase right. That was a 70s re-release where they said something like that.
Yeah.
Queen of the Galaxy.
Queen of the
Galaxy.
Yeah, sorry, it is. Because, Mistress of the Galaxy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's very average looking for a human. I'm like, woof. We did pretty good in the 401st century, didn't we?
I guess, but I mean...
We perfected the genetic modifications that we needed, apparently.
I don't know. See, I was looking at it the other way. I kind of took that line to be like, I'm about average, whereas Barbarella has a certain aspect of humility about herself.
Oh,
I don't think
sure.
it's necessarily that.
Well, she's coming from a society that they're not obsessed with... Well, maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe they are obsessed with fashion and looks because she's pretty useless at most other things.
Yes.
I mean, there is no war in the galaxy. The galaxy's at peace, and they don't do that disgusting thing called sex.
Very Demolition Man.
That's what I thought. It was very Demolition Man. Let's have our hands. I wonder if that Demolition Man scene is a nod to the movie.
I think that it is.
Sure it
yeah.
is.
Because very similar.
For as bad as this movie is, it influences pop culture a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, the look of it, a lot of stuff that happens, it's very influential, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's a ton of songs about Barbarella. They're
A band who took a name from the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the most prominent being Duran Duran, obviously. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's plenty of songs out there. There was a porn star named Barbarella, and of course they got a porn parody. I mean, talk about a movie that is just begging for it. Yeah.
Do you think in like Stripperella, the fact of putting Ella on the end of it?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I saw that Stan Lee cartoon, yeah.
I think there's a similarity there.
Yeah, I think it really only stopped. It begins and ends at the name. Well, yeah, maybe,
There's aspects, I think.
There's definitely some aspects to it, for sure.
So, there's a lot borrowed from this movie, yes.
For sure.
And the comic strip.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is based on the comic strip from Jean-Claude Forest, and which was also collaborated with Claude Brule. I wanted to read the thing before I got to this, but this has been a really hectic week for me at work, so I just haven't had time.
And I did try, as I mentioned to you earlier, and I find that it did lose something in translation, but they did capture the essence of the character quite well in the movie.
This is the first sci-fi comic character to get a feature film. I mean, Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon had movie serials, but neither one of them had actual movie yet. She may even be the first comic book character to get a feature film at all.
Well, was there a Superman before this, or no?
No.
It was just serials.
This was 1968. So, that doesn't start until the 70s. I know Superman came out, I was already around at this point. I wasn't around in 68.
No,
None of us were.
And that's another thing. The sexual revolution. I missed it.
We all did. We kind of came
we came through the scary times.
Yes. We came through the reverse.
Yes.
Where sex is, instead of freedom of expression and sexual freedom and the sexual revolution, we got the horror movie version.
Yes.
We got sex with a side of death.
Yes. I blame everybody in the 60s for fucking that up for me.
Yes, Russian roulette sex is what we had.
Yeah, well, we had condoms, but still.
Yeah. Damn it! Every time you pulled that sucker out, it's the fear of death. Damn it!
I know. It's not fair.
No, it's not fair. So, okay, another weird factoid. This screenplay, it had 2 screenplay writers, but a bazillion other credited writers. This movie definitely, hands it down, has the most credited writers of any movie we've ever covered.
Mm-hmm. And
it
we've covered some
kind of
movies.
shows in this movie.
It's like they all got a scene to do,
right.
and they didn't talk to each other because
They didn't even read the rest of the script.
No, because like
No.
a couple times I'm like going, oh God, I think it's cool if Barbarella sleeps with somebody, and they didn't talk to the other guy,
And yet,
who after sleeping
it's
with somebody.
surprisingly accurate to the comic strip.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and there's one character in there who actually is named after a character in the first issue.
Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
doing a comedy sci-fi, maybe some comedy writers, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Well, I mean, Terry Southern is a comedy writer. He's quite famous for 60s comedies, right? He just come off Casino Royale when he did this.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, Casino Royale, Terry Southern and Roger Vadim took the major credit for the screenplay. Roger also directed this film and was married to the star of this film at the time, Jane Fonda. It was also written by Clement Biddlewood, Brian Dagus, Tudor Gates, and Charles B. Griffith. And I think I finally got everybody after the comic, the screenplay, the right. Okay, good. Yes, that was a lot. That's a cast in and of itself.
It really
Exact-
is.
There's more names on there than I can name who were in the primary cast of this movie.
Yeah. And this movie had a budget of about $9 million. It shows in the sets and stuff, I think. They kind of went with very much inspired by Wizard of Oz and tried these big grand sets, but they also look cheap because it's also a Dino De Laurentiis production.
As soon as I saw that name, I'm like, ah.
Yeah. I didn't find a box office for this, but just in rentals after the fact, because it did get a re-release in the 70s. 5.5 million just in the rentals.
See, yeah.
So that's pretty good.
I think it really found a second life in sort of the rentals and the cults. And
It's definitely
Didn't
regarded as
do
a
well
cult
in
movie
North
now.
America from what I was reading, but it did very, very well in France. Go figure, that's where the comic strip's from,
And
right?
that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's a European property, and we saw a more recent example of that with Tintin. Tintin
Yeah.
did huge box office in Europe, and I really hope we get another one because it was spectacular. Didn't do so well in North America because it's not as well known here.
Well, and what was that other one that's just been released? Where the guy who did The Fifth Element, but it's a different...
Oh, Valerian.
Valerian, that's
Yeah.
very popular French comic, but
Yeah.
it didn't really translate over here because nobody knows the source material.
I don't know, but it should have just sold as a big sci-fi epic. But
It should have, but I think it's just
it
one of those
didn't.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
I'll be honest. That movie, I don't think the leading cast has enough box office oomph to carry to draw American audiences yet.
Well, nobody in Star Wars had a name when that came out,
No,
so I
That's-
don't
still
think
did
that's a
it.
criteria.
No, it is.
It did
It's more
sound
so
like-
nowadays, though.
It did sound like it was more visual spectacle over script, and
Yeah.
that was probably
Yeah.
a problem with
Yeah.
that movie. I have not seen it.
I have
so.
not seen it yet either. But
I think that was it too. And I mean, you run into this problem a lot with any sort of what I feel like a graphic design property is you are trying to compress a story into a movie, but it seems to be like with books and anything else, the source material is so much richer. So to compress it into a movie length movie, you've got to ditch some stuff, but sometimes that stuff is really necessary. So it's a hard line to walk.
Yeah, and like with Barbarella, it was a serialized strip, which later got collected into, I think, 4 graphic novels that collected the entirety of that strip. So that's still an immense amount of material.
yeah, and I think that's part of what happened with the script as well. Is you had different writers reading different parts of the strip and going, "Oh, I like this idea. I'm going to throw this in."
Yeah, well, I mean, in the strip, she visits different planets, and I don't think she's more of that secret agent that they do in this thing. She's just going on adventures.
Which I think would be fun. Like,
Yes. I mean, but she's also more competent in the comic books.
Yeah.
that was that was actually my first note. Can we make Barbarella less of a helpless idiot?
Yes, I have to agree with that one. Yeah, I mean, she really is just sort of the spoke that the hub that everything else revolves around. Like, she doesn't really do anything in this movie.
No,
Everything happens
She gets
to
in
her.
trouble.
Yeah, she gets in trouble. The only time she accomplishes anything was when she's put into the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, and even then, that's a very passive.
It is, yeah. She doesn't really get anything accomplished. She just stumbles onto one thing after another. I suspect they went with the agent thing because Bond was really popular at the time.
Yeah, this would be the height of Bond at that point, right?
You know, this agent of Earth to find this scientist, Durand.
Yeah. And I think there was sort of like a Buck Rogers element to it, too.
Oh, for sure. This was very much, I think, inspired by strips like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. I mean, they would go to different territories on Mongo or wherever, from planet to planet, and they'd be very diverse and very different. Yeah, I like the diversity of Lithian and all the different areas of that planet. It's got such rich regions like Flash Gordon did and Buck Rogers, where they'd go from planet to planet.
And the Matmos.
Oh, and the Matmos, which is this lake of hate.
Yeah.
Or,
And evil, yeah.
evil, hate and evil.
Yes, and
which really just seemed to make everybody horny, but...
Well, I don't know. They were torturing people, sort of.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. We need to see more of the evil part.
Yeah, and have it go dark, a little bit darker maybe. But I like the concept of sort of this mass of like evil intent that feeds on people's evil acts. I really liked that concept.
Seems like an ideal place to build a city.
It made me think of the black goo in X-Files, is what it made me think of.
Oh, man, there's another...
possible correlation. Yeah,
Everything goes back to Barbarella. 7 degrees of Barbarella.
That's going to be the new game.
yeah.
That's right. Coming to our t-shirt shop whenever there's a website. Do not steal our idea.
Yeah. We have several, but we have it recorded.
Yeah, copyright Invasion of the Remake.
We have so many good ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the variation of it, like that's how you construct a good movie, where it's one singular kind of mission, but the many parts of it make the adventure. Mm-hmm. Like you have to have them pass through the different areas to like make it seem like they have to get somewhere.
Yeah, and
Yeah, well, that's just the quest idea. That goes all the way back to Greek mythology.
Oh, for sure. But that's what it
Yeah.
sort of, it feels a little disjointed in these different steps sometimes.
It feels just like Kroll felt disjointed to us for the same reason. It was the same epic journey kind of thing, but it wasn't cohesive enough. That's the same issue with this movie.
You know, she's been sent on this mission for Earth, and she just happens to crash on the planet she's supposed to be going to. I guess she pretty much got there.
Yeah,
she-
it was she
was planning. She slept for 156 hours, and
That was the
destination. Yeah,
that was the time to fly there, I guess, for the ship. You know, everything after that is just kind of accident. Oh, by the way, have you heard of Duran? Have you seen him? Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of. Maybe.
Like she crashes like basically twice. She just keeps crashing.
Oh yeah, all the
That
time.
autopilot blows.
Oh yeah, her computer is useless. It can wake her up and give her terrible nourishment, and that is all it does.
That's right. Yes, I liked her ugh face.
Yeah, she has great facial expressions.
Yes.
There's that
Jane
one
Fonda's
bit where
really
she's smoking the essence of man, and the look on her face is that sort of look on her face, and it was
bad.
Yeah.
really well done. She does. I mean, there's a reason that she's won Academy Awards is because she is a good actress.
Yeah, well, they certainly don't let anybody do a terrible amount of acting in this movie, but
No.
there are some names that you might
Yep.
recognize in this. I mean, of course, Jane Fonda is the lead character Barbarella, and she's had a very interesting life and career post this movie in
And pre.
politics. And even pre this movie, but politics and, you know, the husbands she's had have
I
been
know.
very interesting people in and of itself. Finding success again on Netflix with Grace and Frankie in her senior years.
She's so fun.
And she's
don't
amazing.
forget her stint as an exercise maven.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot all that stuff. Yeah, the Jane Fonda workouts. My mom loved those things.
Yeah, I know. It was so
did
ubiquitous.
guys my age in the 80s.
Well, I mean,
Yep.
look at it, especially in this movie. My God, look
Well,
at her.
you know what?
She's just no wonder she was known as a sex kitten in the
Yeah,
60s.
She was, and I know it's funny because I mean I've watched the opening scene and I'm kind of watching it as a guy would, and while I was sort of watching it, I
Sam's
was
talking about the zero-G striptease.
yes,
Yeah.
right, and as a guy I would, I was watching it,
Yes.
but I was also doing some research at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that when I found out that she was bulimic while she was making this movie, or she's still bulimic, you never get over it, but she was actively bulimic. when she was shooting this kind of took some of that sexuality away from me.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
So
But
I mean, yeah, some women go put themselves through some crazy eating regimes and regimens to stay with that, to keep that kind of figure, and that's not a healthy way to go.
It's untenable. Like,
Yeah.
I'm speaking as somebody who did for a long period of time. You can't keep that up. Like, your body goes through serious trauma doing it. You could kill yourself.
Yeah.
And the fact that they took advantage of her illness during the production as well, not just to help keep her figure, but they had her take sick days because of the bulimia, so that they could do rewrites. So the lost shooting days were covered by insurance.
Yeah.
Right? So that's...
You would think, being married to the director, he'd be looking after her and making sure she's not doing this sort of thing, but
It depends if
seems
he's a good...
pretty selfish.
It depends if
that's
he's a
the
good
case.
husband or a decent human being.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder either way. I think it seems very clear he was just exploiting her and the way she looked.
Well, it
Yes.
seemed to be like that was part of it. She was arm candy to him. She was something to possess.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've never heard of her saying anything negative about Roger, so
But,
that was just
yeah.
a time in her life. I guess she calls it phase 1.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of those sex kitten movies in that time. This was right near the end of it, though. This is close to the end of phase 1.
Yeah, the 70s were more of a different time.
It's only like 2 years later, I think, is Clute. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and she definitely grows up after these movies in terms of being an actress. And I mean, both of her Academy Awards came after this. So a lot of her other awards, she's got Emmys, and I think she may even have some Tonys.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a shame most of this cast wasn't really allowed to act in this movie.
Oh, but
A lot of first takes.
Yes.
yeah. But speaking of the opening scene, I did watch it, and like Sam, I wasn't really looking at it as like the sexual element. But what was funny was reading the trivia on it and how they shot it.
Oh, you know what? Before you say that, I had read about it after the fact, but when I was watching the movie, and I've seen this movie a few times, what teenage boy hasn't? Up until recently, now that I have a film career, I was watching it now, and I'm like, back then, I'm like, how did they do that in the 60s? And I watch now, I'm like, well, duh, this is so clearly she's like laying on plexiglass, and they've just built the side panel underneath.
Yeah.
And as she's kicking her helmet around and stuff, I'm like, and it looks great.
Yeah.
And then I read later on that it was exactly how they did it.
Exactly. Like, because you can see the reflections as she's taking off certain items.
Yeah, I think I watched a cleaned up version and I didn't see the reflections.
Oh, see,
but-
I saw the reflections a lot. I did not watch a cleaned up version, but I think it's also in there's the physicality of making it seem like how she would move around on it is also a major part of making that look believable.
Yeah, and again, proof to her talents as an actress, even though you don't really see them in this movie because of the script and the lack of directing. But yeah, it just shows that she's not only capable as
There were a couple interesting visuals even in that scene. I mean, that was a clever way to get around the zero G and do that and show something that really hadn't been done on film convincingly. And that looked okay. Very simple way to do it. Her space helmet and when the visor comes down, I mean, clearly it was just a liquid within two bubbles of glass that was coming down, but again, it was a very clever visual.
I still love that.
looked good. I still liked it. Yeah, I'm like that was cool.
And it's sort of like, but I love that. It's sort of that excitement where you're like, oh wait, you're just going to see your face. But it's strangely enough when we're talking about like how
They're fully
sexualized.
shag.
I love that.
They're fully
I
shag
love
spaceship.
That. But I kept thinking about it, like in the sexualized version of it. Somehow my mind went to, this is like the early internet when you're waiting for like a picture to download.
I just want Barbarella's helmet now every time on my for a loading screen. With their slightly orgasmic face coming into view, I'm like, all right, it's loaded.
Exactly. Like, it's just like you're just downloading some porn, and it just takes forever because it's like by the top to the bottom.
And all the good stuff's always at the bottom, right?
Yeah, and
Right.
that's what made me think of it.
Okay, well, I can't seem to get past Jane Fonda on this cast list. John Phillip Law was Pygar. Anita Pallenberg was the Great Tyrant, although she was dubbed over for this film. Another gorgeous lady. Milo O'Shea O'Shea?
O'Shea,
Actually, it's
yeah.
probably O'Shea. Milo O'Shea was the concierge, a.k.a. Durand. Spoilers.
Yeah.
This one surprises me. In a very verbose role, which was very unusual for Marcel Marceau.
His very first
Yeah,
speaking role.
But I thought he was dubbed over.
He
I
was
read-
dubbed over, but
But
he did say
speak,
he did
yeah.
speak his dialogue. Mm-hmm. So I still don't know what the guy sounds like.
I know. That's when I saw it. When I found out it was dubbed over, I'm like, damn, I'm never going to know.
Yeah, if you don't know who that is, he's probably the most famous mime in the world. Mm-hmm. And there probably will never be a famous mime again, so
No.
enjoy.
There's a famous
he's-
mime. Teller.
Oh, yes, tell her. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, okay, we've
I
got
guess he's
two.
I think I guess he's more of a famous mute, not a mime.
Marcel Marceau is now gone, so
Yeah.
so it's now just tell her.
Let's just tell her. But yeah, like naming all the mimes, the great mimes, you're going to have a short list.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Claude Dauphin and
He was the president.
Ugo Tognazzi, who was Mark Hand. We'll get to that.
Was he the guy? Okay, see, I get confused with him. Was he the guy at the beginning, the first?
He
Yes.
was the furry dude.
There we go. He
And
was very furry.
David Hemmings was Dildano.
I loved him. I thought he
Yeah.
was so much fun.
He was probably the
Goofy.
most comic, actual comic of the characters.
He actually has, and none of the jokes land, but at least he's mildly funny.
Yes.
With his
Yeah.
kind of ineptitude as this rebellion leader.
Yeah.
He
It
so
just
amused me.
Unorganized and everything's broken in his headquarters. I'm going to run the trailer and we will come back and really dig into this as well as rethink and remake Barbarella for today's audiences.
Meet the most beautiful creature of the future. Her name is Barbarella, and she makes science fiction something else. Jane Fonda is Barbarella. Barbarella is a 5-star, double-rated astronavigatrix Earth girl whose specialty is
Love.
Shall I tell you what I would like?
I think I know.
her top secret mission is a real wing dinger.
I got him. Good many dramatic situations begin with screaming.
Aswita Sonja! Aswita Sonja!
Could you hand me a garment?
See Barbarella do her thing with the nice angel. With the warm, friendly Iceman. With the cold, evil Black Queen.
Hello, pretty.
With the charming hand-to-hand Romeo. See Barbarella do her thing in the wild, excessive machine.
Sort of nice, isn't it?
In the biting birdcage. In the chamber of dreams. In the labyrinth of love. In the deadly dollhouse. In the palace of pleasure. You find adventure beyond your imagination when you get lost in space with Barbarella.
awesome. Very 60s.
I love the music. It's, I mean, I wouldn't choose to listen to it, but in context with this movie, it totally works.
Music needs to be very much part of the remake. I haven't really given it a whole heck of a lot of thought, but yeah, you want to get some fun music into the sequel or a remake.
For sure. Well, every time I hear that, ba, 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 I'm like going, this is a late 60s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I said, lots of music was inspired by this movie. So, and the guitarist from Pink Floyd worked on the score of this movie.
Exactly.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's weird. There's bits of it where they did put a heck of a lot of effort in.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had to factoid about the DOP.
A factoid of the DOP. The DOP is the grandson of Renoir. His name's Claude Renoir, and he's the grandson of Renoir, the famous Impressionist painter.
That's crazy.
And I thought that was exciting.
Like, again, 7 degrees of Barbarella.
Exactly.
I got to figure out my own degrees.
Yes. I know. God. We'll have to do that later, and then we'll post
I guess I just watched it, so one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I grew up in a house that had that kind of shag carpeting inside the spaceship at one point. That's about as close as I get.
I think we had that in my basement of my parents for many, many years.
Yeah, I'm wondering, that's pushing, shag is pushing it. That is freaking fur. It is faux fur.
That wasn't even shag. Yeah, that was fur on the walls, fur on the carpet, fur on the roof.
Yeah. And let's talk about the spaceship for just a couple moments, because that is the strangest looking spaceship I have ever seen.
I was trying to figure out what they even made that out of.
It was very, very strange looking. But I love the attention to detail in this movie, because when you see the ship crashed after
all
the first crash,
ships looked weird.
Yeah, but it was all scraped along the side. They had from the crash landing, right? And then the model had the exact same scrapes on it. And I really like the fact that they didn't miss that. Right? Like
and that one hole.
Yeah, like it wasn't that they didn't want to make a good movie. Just somewhere along the line, the intent got lost in the script.
Yeah, you could tell they're trying to make a comedy or at least
a comedic action, sci-fi spoof kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe the high camp.
Yeah.
But none of that really comes across. At least camp works with sincerity with Flash Gordon, but they're going for camp here, but it's just not working. Well, the humor's not there, and...
Yeah.
Well, and then you've got the things like, I mean, one of my favorite bits in this movie is also the least funny, because it is creepy. Those freaking kids.
Yeah.
And the chomping dolls.
That turned out really good.
That was actually, in my mind, the best part of the movie.
Although her pain face is exactly the same as the orgasm face.
I know, but I can see that being a direction thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
because isn't that like a thing sometimes in comic books where like they'll be drawn as like if they're dead or in pain, it's like an orgasm face, and it's weird. Like you've probably seen this before, right?
Well, maybe the older ones, yeah.
But yeah, I love that scene. Like I love that element of this movie. That hint of darkness to it that kind of just never materializes again.
Yeah,
they tried it, but it didn't make it.
Yeah, and I think you can push this movie into darker places, and it will help punctuate the comedy as well.
Yeah, I mean, like the Matmos, again, they make all that evil feeling the Matmos darker, so that when you do get your moments of humor, they're really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going to go to Sogo, which is Sodom and Gomorrah,
put
together is Sogo. That was the name of the city of the great tyrants. I mean, you should really start seeing that. I mean, they do try to give you little bits of it here and there, but it just feels like a lot of people standing around a lot of the time.
A lot of time. I mean, when they first get there, there's that murderous intent by the crowd. But again, it feels like a really bad play rather than a scene in a movie.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And a lot of the scenes felt that way. They had these huge, elaborate sets that they didn't really use very well. So it felt like a stage play in a lot of ways. And that's the way the whole movie kind of feels when I really think about it. Is that these characters lost on these really massive sets where there's not enough happening.
Well, it seems
somebody
like
needs to make Barbarella the musical.
Oh, that would be good. Oh yeah.
I need that in my life.
But I guess that's it. Like it's sort of sometimes it's the play, but they're looking to make the visual rather than the story.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, the elaborate costumes, I mean, this gives me a great chance to bring up the costumes.
Yes.
Because the costumes are fucking amazing. I mean, there's so much fun to look at, like everybody's costumes, except for the angel, because he doesn't really have a costume. He has great wings, though.
Yeah,
for that time and date.
They went with the very much angelic biblical look with just a little bit of clothing draped over the
naughty
loins.
bits.
Yeah.
Although there's one bit I thought that was really weird is like around like his waistline, they show it looks like there's kind of feathers there, and I'm like, that's the weirdest thing because I don't make items of clothing out of my own hair. It would seem weird.
It was supposed to be pubic.
There was somebody in the harem scene that very much looked like she was just like they had her dressed in fur, but it just looked like extensions of pubic hair that ran up to her belly button. I was like, ew. She was gorgeous yet oddly ew.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that a costume or not?
No. Well, okay. Another degree of separation. The island of Dr. Moreau was supposed to be like the Catwoman was supposed to be like kind of have hair coming up over her pubic region up along her chest in that movie. That was one of the visuals that was supposed to be there.
So
The pubic trail.
The pubic trail, yes. But aside from those, the costumes were really interesting to look at. Like they were part of the movie. I mean, how many different costumes did she have?
She went through 7 costume changes.
Tons.
Yeah.
She it was like she was an Oscar presenter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and there's a very famous designer who actually worked on these costumes, which explains why they look so good, I guess. But Paco Rabanne, who some people would know as mostly for the
cologne.
perfumes and colognes, but was a huge designer in the late 60s, early 70s, and maybe even longer because I mean he was very prominent in the 80s, even when I was a teenager.
See, and that might be the thing because maybe I think his sense still continued after that, but I only kind of associated him with that, so I wasn't familiar that he was actually a designer.
Yeah, I mean, Barbarella's costumes usually hugely impractical, but looked fantastic. Like, I mean, they were form-fitting. Everything's going to show off her figure because she's meant to be a sexual icon. But at the same time, it's like, boob window. All right.
I know, and she starts off with
Single
one and
boob
it's
window?
2 boob windows, but they're
Yeah.
both red, and I'm like, yeah, don't wear that one.
And you can they're somewhat translucent, so you can kind of see in, but at the same time not, because the boob window actually has its own nipple.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
My favorite was the big furry thing she's wearing with the tail.
Yes.
I just thought that was cute.
Yes, because her other outfit had got eaten up by dolls, so she scooped up some extra fur from the Iceman.
Which he just happened to have lying around.
Well, everybody had clothes lying around.
Yes.
Everybody. Every time she had a costume destroyed, like when she's in the excessive machine, and there's tons of clothes lying around from. I'm like, they have no caretakers in the city, so nobody's picking up all the other executions. And again, if this is the city of evil, why would you give people a pleasurable death?
Because I guess for
Irony?
irony's sake, it'd be like, it's a Twilight Zone-y thing. It's like, oh, this is going to be bad for you, but it's going to be good up until it's real bad.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that ultimately could end up being torture, right? Death by pleasure to the point where it's no longer pleasure and becomes pain. For most people, it's a pretty horrific experience, you would think. And it's going to generate a lot of terror.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess things in this future where there's no violence, I mean, they might have even forgotten the word rape. It's a rape machine.
Yeah, it's a rape machine, and that's the other thing, too. Like, to use sex in a violent way is also terrible.
Yeah.
So...
But again, not all that well portrayed. It could have been partly, I think, because Duran wasn't very evil.
No, he didn't really come across evil until a little later on. He's actually very polite.
Yes.
But speaking of costumes, what was this fucking baby Bjorn all about?
I don't know.
This thing on his stomach, this tiered thing, and I'm like, what is that?
I looked at it as a poofy fanny pack. That's what I sort of thought it was. Like, you can imagine Duran Duran.
He's a scientist. He carries a lot of shit.
And that's what I don't quite get, is like he has to go get his other tools to kill her. I'm like, I just think it would be funny if he's like rooting around in that fanny pack going like, okay, let's see, gun, knife.
Oh, there's my crescent wrench.
Here's my crescent wrench. Tweezers, I knew I had these.
Oh, look, there's some gum.
You can never find what you're looking for in this thing when you're looking for it.
Yeah, and then he hits something squishy. Ooh, why did I put that in there?
Oh, old egg salad. Oh, bad idea.
You see, and that could have been a much more effective moment of comedy too, right?
Yeah. And I'm torn whether to remake this as a comedy or a little more straight sci-fi, or I don't know. I feel like you almost give him a second chance at the comedy.
I want a dark comedy.
I'm thinking, go darker, more sci-fi, but you need that element of comedy because it's inherent in the character.
Oh yeah,
right?
you definitely have to have it.
Like Heather's comedy, very dark.
I got a question for you, Trish.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just fishing for something. So I might be fishing for something here.
Okay.
Does this pass the Bechdel test?
Oh my God. It might in a certain aspect, because at one point the Black Queen and Barbarella are discussing the Matmos, which isn't a man.
So the essence of evil is female?
No, it's not. No, it's
Just
genderless.
It's genderless, yes.
So it isn't a man. So it's a very, very slim win.
Wow. Whoa. You heard it here, guys.
It's a super slim win. It's bullshit, but it's a super slim win.
Wow. Man. Okay.
And at one point when they first meet, she says she's also asking Barbarella to come and stay and play with her. They're not talking about a man.
There is I wish they would have kept it in, considering all the other sex. That there's a scene where they do actually have
intimacy,
some intimacy.
See, and I would love to play out.
That should have been in there.
I envision kind of Barbarella as like a sexual being, but it's more of that joyful freedom about it, where she doesn't feel any shame about it, and it's not. She's never bullied into it.
No,
it's always her choice. And she's sort of, it's just, there's nothing, she's empowered by it. It's not how she uses to gain, like if somebody saves her life or helps her out of a jam, she doesn't use it as payment.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple times that's made me real uncomfortable.
With the Iceman rescues her from the dolls, and she initially offers recompense from her government. And he's like, well, there's other ways you can pay me.
Yeah, and then she offers the normal way that she would have sex,
which is the pill and hand thing and
he says, no, I don't accept that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, then I guess so.
I'll do it like you savages.
Yeah.
But
but then she loves it.
See,
it was poorly handled because that is her sexual awakening, right?
That is, yes.
See,
right.
I want her to approach it from the idea, not so much that she's I want her to kind of, the way I have it visualized is she helps herself get out of the jam. He also helps her. Thank God he showed up. But I don't want it to be payment, but I also want her to kind of approach it as like she's simply curious. Mm-hmm. She's never been offered to have it the old-fashioned way before, and she's heard about it, and she's kind of curious about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because only poor people do it that way now. She even says that. Yeah. And there's all kinds of missed opportunities in this movie for like commentary as well. That was one of them.
Oh, I mean, in the 60s, I mean, the only commentary about this is sexual awakening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And part of this is definitely an influence of the sexual revolution. But, I mean, science fiction should take opportunities to make commentaries about this sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, the whole movie with the Matmos and being evil and greed and all that stuff, like a huge opportunity there to sort of express sort of what Soga represents, right? Like, because it represents everything that's worst about humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of mixed signals where she's having a sexual awakening, and yet the Great Tyrant City is very sexual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I think
so, you know, I in fact, I wouldn't even want to make too much commentary on it. Well, you know, like, what would you dress the Great Tyrant up in more BDSM guard, but it's not like that's evil.
No.
So
But
that sends a bad message.
You have to couch it very carefully, because there's sex for the sake of sex. Like there's sexual predators and out there who have sex for the sake of having sex. But Barbarella represents the purity of sex when sex is done for the right reasons with the right intent, right? Then it can be very beautiful and pure and innocent. Right?
And there's a joy there.
And there is a joy there, right? So there's that juxtaposition of purely selfish sex, and then there's this giving, loving sex, right? And that's
where maybe that should be the juxtaposition.
You can have the
film.
juxtaposition, whereas the Queen uses it as a form of power
and punishment,
and it's punishment. And you have prostitution. It's about commerce. It's not about anything else. And people are being used because of it. But yeah, with the Barbarella thing, it's sort of, I also don't want her to be so undone by it. I kind of want her to be like, okay, when can we do this again? Like, it's just kind of like, I want to try something.
Well, I think I love that first bit. The first time where she is kind of blown away by it, because it's sort of introspective about it, and there's that whole line where it's like, you're right, it is very distracting.
I want to keep that.
That's really important for her to sort of be kind of out of it for just a little bit.
This must have been just tricky to shoot in general, and keep an R rating at the time, or whatever the other country ratings are, because I mean, most erotic films got a single X, especially with as much nudity as that's in this film. But I guess it's just really bare chests for the most part. You're not getting
full frontals and male nudity and stuff like that.
I mean, there really isn't. They're very careful about the nudity. And believe it or not, in the 70s, when they re-released this to take advantage of Star Wars, they edited it down to a PG. So it must have been tricky to get all that nudity out. I remember the one when I saw this movie on television for the first time, and that just even the opening striptease scene and all those floating letters that make the credits would float over her nipples and shit.
Yes.
And I remember being really irritated.
That must be the version I saw, because I saw that too.
Okay.
But this is actually a good segue when we're talking about the nudity, because they have that opening bit where she's talking to the president and she's naked.
And I love this because it shows that she has no body awareness.
See, and there's little moments of it, but I would like it to be more
asked
freeing.
if she should cover up. And the president's like, it's not my first rodeo.
Yeah, that's what I would like it to be. Like, I would love I love the idea of non-sexualized nudity.
Yes, and that's exactly what this was supposed to be.
There's a couple of lines that he says. He doesn't sell it with his facial features, the president, but there's a couple of lines that says, it's I'm happy to see you again.
Yeah. See, I would like it to be where he's looking at her, like going, oh, you've been keeping yourself in fine fighting form. Like it's an admiring of it.
It's like a horse that's a race horse where you're looking at it going almost right. Like I mean, that's not the best analogy, but I see what you're saying is where he acknowledges that she's fit and she's ready to go on her next mission.
He feels that she's capable and good.
Remake.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to know what she was doing in the space suit in the first place. So we should open the scene a little earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe she's fixing her ship.
Yeah, or researcher. Like, I also want her to be able to fix her ship.
She was just hanging out outside? Because that's, I guess, when it's either masturbate or go float in space. Yeah. So I guess there's really only two things you can do while you're out there.
When she's talking to him, I'm like, why was she out there in the first place? Like, it's just like it sort of addressed in that opening. Okay, so, like, are you done your research in this one part of the universe? Like, that's why she was outside. She was looking at something or trying to gather information on something.
Did you notice the vibrators that spilled out when the ship was getting rocked?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
No, there's a few round cylindrical objects in the back right corner that spill out.
To be fair, might have a different edit too, so I might.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the PG edit.
I think I got the PG edit.
Oh no. I definitely got all the nudity in mine.
Okay, then I did not.
There was a lot.
There was quite a bit. Yeah.
No, I get strategically covered.
I definitely got Jane Fonda nipple.
Oh, I got one nipple once, and that's it.
Yeah. I think, you're allowed one in a PG.
Yeah. Okay, then I got the PG.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Oh.
I'm going to have to rewatch this now.
Yes. Find the unedited version, because it sounds like, you may have even missed some context too for some of this, right?
Probably, yes. Oh, but speaking of nudity, I kind of thought it was really enjoyable that they had the first guy, he's furry.
Oh, he takes off the fur, and he's got even more fur.
I'm not sure he took anything off at one point.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a hairy dude.
But I thought that was that's kind of cool, because it would also point to the idea that she would be unaware of what a human body is supposed to look like. She'd be confused by the hair. I think there's a moment you could have there.
Yeah, it could have all the guys you could easily have that moment, and it also plays into his environment too, because he works in a cold, icy environment, so that would make sense that he has more hair, right?
Yeah,
right. That may be sort of part of his genetic makeup as what do they call it? The huntsman.
He was a catchman.
Catchman. That's
he was a
really
child catcher, essentially.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I love how the children run wild and
until they're of a certain age.
Very Logan's Run,
and
right?
I have something interesting in there for that.
That's very Logan's Run.
Very Logan's Run.
Yeah.
That episode of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Children of the Corn.
Yeah, that was already going next to is Children of the Corn. Yeah.
Okay, we gotta start having a tally of how many degrees.
Well, we've covered Logan's Run on this show, so go check
Yeah.
that episode out. We won't be covering that Star Trek episode, so enjoy that little tidbit. And we will be probably talking about Children of the Corn in the future. So.
For sure.
Because I think that was remade. Wasn't that remade?
There's lots of sequels, but I don't think it has been remade.
Oh, maybe not. Ooh.
It might have been as a TV movie, but I can't be certain.
That doesn't
I
count
don't know.
then.
We got some research to do.
Yeah. Might be a Salem's Lot situation.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few rule breaks sometimes. Salem's Lot was remade for television on television.
And that's Shining as well.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
I haven't seen that remake.
I haven't either. I've heard about it, but I'm like, I don't know.
The original's so good, so I just, nobody's going to top Jack, so why try? Why try?
Yeah, I just looked at it and I'm going, okay, Jack Nicholson and one of the guys from Wings. Not that I don't just like Steven Weber. I'm like,
Well, I mean, I know Stephen King wasn't so happy about that adaptation, so I'd like to see what is closer to his vision.
Yeah, and I've read the book, so I think maybe I might check that out later.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. Hey,
we have time to watch stuff for fun.
You gotta really figure it out. Coming up, though, we will not have any time to watch.
Oh, yeah, our October is going to be super full. We're less than a week away. We're going to be covering movies all October that are horror movies, as well as prepping for our 31 Days of Horror challenge. If you want to be a part of that, the rules are: watch a horror movie you have never seen, one per day, to cover those 31 days.
An average of one per day, because sometimes we just can't.
Yeah,
we can't
some
watch
days,
one.
if you miss a day, then double up the next day.
Watch
Whatever.
31.
Yeah, but watch 31. That's the challenge. If you want to do it along with us, that episode will drop early November as we run down through each of our 31 movies.
And we'd like to see what you're watching, because you know what? It might give us, inspire our viewing over that course of that month as well. So
if you're following us on Twitter and Facebook, tag us so we can see what you're watching as well, and we'll interact with you, and you can also see what we're watching.
And it would be so awesome, because sometimes you're stuck for what you want to watch, and if somebody has a good suggestion, that can save you for a day. Because I don't know if you guys went through this. There's a couple of days where I'm looking at 1,000 things and I don't know what I need to watch. I've already spent 2 hours wasted trying to find something to watch.
I'm already starting to curate a bit. It's going to be easy for me this year because I have got so many horror movies sitting around that I've just been kind of waiting.
Stockpiling?
Yeah, basically stockpiling.
Yeah. And I got a couple of really great suggestions last year from Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a couple groups out there that were more than willing to provide suggestions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look back at that too.
Yeah.
So, yes, back to Rat.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, too bad. What was your favorite, scene? Because you could really break these down from action scene to action scene. There's some really weird ones, too.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call a single one of them an action scene. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't call a single one an action scene.
No.
The suicide room was very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would kill that. I would cut that right out.
Yeah, it serves no purpose whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know why that was
you get to
there.
see one girl go to her death, and because they're trapped in there, once you're in, you can't come out. But that also saves them from the crowd, her and Pygar. Mm-hmm. And then they're rescued by the concierge, which really isn't a rescue.
Nope.
Well, if you just wanted to kill and torture these interlopers that are pure and fucking up your city, then just let them go stay in the suicide room.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Maybe not kill it, but definitely make some changes to it.
I would make it something you pass by. Like, instead of hidden in a fucking mountain,
Yeah.
you just...
Maybe that's the whole evil part of it too.
It's just something you see. I'd actually like to see it as an advertisement.
Yeah.
The Suicide Gate Room.
Futurama. They had the suicide boots.
Yep.
Oh my god. Barbarella, 7 degrees.
There we go.
Yeah, but I still think my favorite scene was the children and the chomping dolls. I think that was the only truly effective scene in the whole movie where I actually felt something beyond like, ooh, that was pretty.
Yeah, her first meeting with Pygar.
It was a little flat for me. And
That was pretty flat,
I hate to
too.
say it, I just found Pygar really annoying, actually.
Yeah, he was.
I didn't mind him. What I found more annoying was, and I've written this down as a note, I want her to say Pygar about 50% less in our remake.
Yes.
Because I don't know how many times she said it. If anybody has a supercut, I'm pretty sure it's about 5 minutes long. So that was yeah, I couldn't deal with
I
that.
love it right after the after the Catchman guy, Mark Hand, after she's done her thank you sex. After that, she's very eager to thank people.
Yes.
And see, that could be part of the
She's
whole
like,
thing. where
Pygar,
it's-
you saved me.
Yeah,
and
it's
next
that
thing you know, she's
curiousness.
la 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 la.
Yeah, or she could have that whole thing where it's like going, he's lost the will to fly. I know something that might help.
Yeah.
Like just the excitement, the pure joy she could have. Just
Yes.
being like, I can tell you something.
I find you attractive, and I
This is-
might be able to help
Professor
you.
Ping's going, interesting therapy.
Because, I mean, at this point, she's really excited about it. It's new to her. And she's like, no, I'm going to try this out as much as I can.
Yeah, and I'd like to see more of that, where it's not, you're right, not a form of payment so much as she's seeking, she sees opportunities to experience variations of this new thing that she's found, and possibly benefit somebody else in the process beyond the actual physical act of sex. But giving Pygar his desire or will to live back is great, or will to fly back is great.
Yeah,
great device.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not confident enough after he lost his sight. He's not confident enough. He's lost his confidence to fly. And he's the last angel. He's the last of his kind.
Well, he's lost his will to fly, which I think is like, because he's been in this labyrinth, and I think this whole place is really just based on despair. The purpose of the labyrinth, I think,
is to
just
create that despair.
destroy people in despair.
And they're given nothing. I guess that's why somebody like Professor Ping doesn't have a lot of tools. Otherwise, he probably could easily made him some Daredevil radar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't have anything, and like they say, they're only given orchids to eat because they have almost no nutritional value.
But you can eat them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can eat them.
And they're pretty.
But it could also go
They
down.
should have. Why didn't we see like a field of orchids then? Or
Outlaw Wizard of Oz, I think that'd be really
True.
cool, actually.
Yeah,
It
right.
would have been good.
Add it to a remake.
Why was Barbarella knocked out by a snowball?
Because there's a rock in it.
They put a rock in it.
Okay, I must have missed them stashing the rock
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. No, they put a rock in it.
You were doing research while you were watching too, weren't you?
Yeah, sometimes my head's like down making notes,
Yeah.
and I'll miss the little bit because I saw them forming the
Yeah.
snowball, but I didn't see them stick the rock in
Yeah.
there.
See, and me, when I see frightening children on the screen, I kind of can't look away because I'm terrified.
Yeah. Especially when they're terrifying twins, too.
They're all twins.
Yes.
Yeah, they
And
there
I
were,
get part of why I liked it so much.
lots of twins in there, and then you get the nieces of the tyrants later on.
And they turn out to be the same girls.
The
from
same
beginning.
girls, yeah, and being very upset that they lost their plaything, and they could speak English there, or maybe that was just because
No, she
she
fixed her
tuned
thing.
her box, so none of them could speak English.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because when she's talking to Mr. Hand, the guy, she
Yeah, that's
eventually
right.
gets it to the right frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did her guns have hands on them? So they could grip her boobs while she's bracing them?
They looked really neat, but were very functionless. Like
Yeah, no.
that was part of the whole visual design of the movie, and had nothing to do with functionality.
No.
No.
And they're not, other than looking stupid, that was silly.
Yeah, no. Like if you're going to have hands on a gun, I think you could do something cool where it's attaching itself, like it's gripping you to
grabs
hold
around
on.
your shoulder to
You're
hold
not
you,
wearing
yeah.
a holster; it's holding on to
See,
you.
and
Yeah.
because I like the concept, it was just poorly executed. I think what Trisha's pointing out there is
That's
like,
a neat idea. We should use that. Maybe not so much a human hand looking thing, but something that extends around for support as, you grab the gun and then it wraps itself around 5 digits or whatever around your bicep or your shoulder for bracing. She
Yeah.
had some big rifles and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, she had her mini missile launcher,
Yeah.
which was also crazy. But everything ran on her energy box because
Yeah.
they don't have a word
Yeah.
for battery.
Yeah.
401st century, out of all that time has passed, they've lost simple words
But-
like
Yeah.
battery.
They've lost battery, but I kind of like that idea because that can be used as a device to actually put her in peril. If her weapons don't work, you can put in like an action sequence where she might have to like try to defend herself.
Yeah.
hand-to-hand
Well,
combat.
I guess now that we got power banks and stuff, that isn't that far from
True.
things now.
No,
so.
but that actually leads into something else that could work really well. Is the energy box? Maybe it's run by kinetic energy,
Right.
Right. So that feeds into other reasons for her to become physical.
Ooh, like those watches that are
Yeah.
supposed to charge themselves when you walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So so the more energy she
But
produces,
that's over momentum, so.
Yeah. But I mean, that's still
Yeah.
kinetic. It's kinetic
Yeah.
energy, right? It's through motion and movement and
And reverse cowboy.
yeah.
Well, that could be kind of funny where she's like, it's weird. We were kind of in one spot, but my box is all charged.
Great joke. There we go.
I didn't even
That's
know
it. Show's over. It's not going to get any better than that.
I didn't even realize I was heading towards that ending, but it just came to me.
Yeah.
Those are the best kind, Trish.
I only realized it
Trish's
halfway
box
through.
is all charged.
All charged.
Right? Exactly. That's the point I was trying to make, though. To
I could
Trish put it
pause
into
this
words.
recording so she could take a cold shower.
Just that manual plug-in. But yeah, I love that idea that it could be, because that would actually be really cool.
Yes.
Actually, when Pygar, after his payment for rescue, and he's flying around, and I'm like, oh, better than Red Bull.
Nice.
Fucking gives you wings.
Fucking gives you wings. It fucking gives you wings.
Fucking gives you wings.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's start remaking this a little bit. Although, if there's anything else you want to talk about, I mean, we talked a little bit about the fucking machine, and that couldn't keep up with her. And I have a little clip, so stay after the credits of Jane Fonda and how she would remake this movie. And believe it or not, there's even more sex.
Ew.
And because you told me that, that's kind of why I'm thinking, well, let's use that. Find ways to make the sex make sense.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I mean, they're putting out movies again with more sex in them. I mean, granted, they're bad ones so far, but with the Grey movies. Yeah. So, I mean,
Why? Because that's based on shitty source material as well.
yeah, for sure.
Right, you think of things like Game of Thrones that are and that are doing a lot of sexuality, and very little of it is actually gratuitous. It all serves a
It
purpose.
makes sense, yes.
Yeah.
Within Game of Thrones, I accept it.
It's going to be very hard to do this and make sense, but that's okay.
Well,
we
that's
do
what
want to keep it a little bit closer to the strip, I think. I
Yeah.
like the adventure aspects to it and discovering the sexuality. It can still be relevant, but in how do we update that by today's more uptight standards, and send that message that, hey, yeah, sex is okay,
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
think we
that's
can.
and it's a choice.
yeah, and I think that's what the whole thing we were talking about earlier about sort of the juxtaposition of sort of selfish, self-involved sexual practices versus the purity of somebody who's new to sex and is just really experiencing something new with joy and pleasure, where it's not something just for the sake of doing it. Right? So that's part of it. I think that her joy is the important part.
Yeah.
Right. Is
And it's like two consenting people. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like everybody's going into it and eyes wide open. They're just having a good time. And there's no shame associated with this.
Yeah, I think that's important there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get probably a lot of feminist commentary on a movie like this.
well, and that's why it's so
And you
important
do.
to have her initiating these actions, because it's her choice at this point, right?
Yes.
Right. And when we can even have her being approached and saying, "No, I'm not interested," like, and have that
She does
consent
do that
discussion.
to the Great Tyrant.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole consent discussion there, right?
And that could also be based on the fact, like, even the other bit about, too, is, like, to not be uptight. She's not saying no to the Great Tyrant because she's a woman. She's saying no to the Great Tyrant because she's like, you're just too
I just
evil.
don't
I
like
don't
you.
like you as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to have sex with somebody I do not like.
Yeah, and that could be dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Right. And
Why was she cosplaying as a pirate? She likes to roam around with the people. In the strip, she actually always had the eye patch, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
I
because
guess that was just a nod to that. Maybe we should keep the eye patch.
Well, I think that the eye
looked
patch
like a
was
badass.
kind
I loved
of
it.
one of those things that when she went out among the masses, it helped sort of disguise her as because they all would know what she looks like, right?
We need a fight sequence with her. She twirls those knives. It's like she's obviously a badass.
Yeah,
There has to be action sequences in this movie.
yeah,
There
because
has to be.
that's one of the weak points of the movie is you have this long quest narrative with nothing happening in them, right? There's just one comedy of errors against another comedy
drab.
of errors. Yeah.
It's so drab most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this constant damsel in distress, just stumbling into situations, and she really does nothing active to get herself out of it. So
No.
it becomes utterly pointless. Like it would be like watching a movie, and you're following the idiot, you're not following the hero.
Yeah.
It's going to be so fucking frustrating.
Yeah, and it was frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I kept expecting her to become heroic.
Oh, the
right?
birdcage.
Yeah.
I did.
I'm like the really threatening parakeets. Like,
There's one line in it though that I really did enjoy. Which is like, oh my god, what an overly poetic way to die. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like
they
that.
really have like the silliest ironic deaths.
Yeah, and I think most of those were taken directly from the strip.
Yeah.
Like, I think that a lot of these were devices.
I liked that it was just a row of them perched on her hip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of great visuals there, and I think that's part of why they used them. But I would make her device more functional, right? I mean, yes, it's a translator, and it also tracks Duran Duran, but maybe she can use that device to get her out of the ropes to save herself from the kids and the chomping dolls, right? Like there could be more Bond-esque functions to it as well.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they still need tools in the future, and even though she's given some archaic weapons because they've done away with weapons, she never leaves the ship with them. The rebels wind up grabbing them.
At one point,
she has
the gun and the rifle when she's flying, but that's it.
Yeah, and the mini missile launcher that shoots the ships.
And then that very suggestive scene where she reaches up into Pygar's loincloth to get the little pistol.
Yeah.
Which was actually really kind of fun to watch because it was very suggestive and you're going, what the fuck is she doing?
Yeah, because I remember her stashing it, and it would have been pretty funny if he said, and again, lost opportunity. I'm like, wrong pistol.
Wrong pistol.
Not that one. What's the right one? But not. I don't think that's what you're going for today.
Or even better, that's bigger than I thought it was.
Yep, that's the wrong.
You're
one.
looking for the metal hard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty great opportunities there that were missed.
But the whole point is that they have just that
They should
minuscule
definitely need to up it.
moment where the Mat Moss, the Black Queen thinks that the Mat Moss is having an effect on Barbarella, and they could have done something with that, but they just.
No,
kind of
well, she
ignore
uses it
that.
to kind of get out of a situation. It's actually the only time she uses it to get out of a situation. She temporarily holds the queen hostage, but her battery box, her energy box was empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, she could have tried to disguise herself as being more evil or cruel or malevolent, and she could have used that, I think.
Well, I don't think that was part of Barbarella's character, right? Like she because she has character, I don't think that type of dishonesty is in her inherently. Like
That's a good point.
Yeah, they do say her
That's a really good
innocence,
point.
like the Matmos is repelled by her innocence,
Yeah.
so that's kind of keeping her safe. But she needs to be smarter. Like when she's in that room trying to escape people and hide, she just gets on a couch and starts smoking with the girl that was hitting on her.
which was funny. I like that bit.
Yeah,
I
and
love
I
that.
mean, there's a nice bit where she's smoking or whatever, but she should. I mean, she's trying to get. She pretty much doesn't need much excuse to get naked most of the time. Start taking her clothes off, and you're in a room with naked people. So yeah, the girl with the clothing's gonna stand out.
Yeah.
So maybe she should have got naked, covered up her hair, and then started smoking.
Yeah.
Better
And when he
disguise herself.
when he came through, maybe started making out with the girl next to her.
Yeah.
So
I
you couldn't
mean,
see her face, right? Then
Exactly.
you've got that sort of, but he still sort of figures out it's her, right? But it needs to make more effort in hiding, right? And it would play to the sexuality of the movie is a lot better as well.
Yeah, I would actually
Absolutely.
like to see it almost work.
Yeah.
You know, he's about to leave the room, and then he's like turns around. Wait a minute.
Right? And it could be something small that gave her away. Maybe maybe it's her energy box,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because she's still wearing it or whatever.
Oh,
right?
you see, maybe he just sees the clothing hiding under a pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just poking out,
Yeah.
like a glove or a boot or
Yeah. Just one
Something.
small thing is what.
yeah, her cape.
Yeah.
Just one thing undoes it. Yeah, you're right.
You just need a little more attention to that scene where she needs to almost get away with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like super quick. She sits down, has a little, and he just like, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
I mean, she's taken straight to the piano, and oh no, she's taken to the birdcage after that.
Yeah.
No, she gets the birdcage after the gun.
She
piano
escaped from the
after-
birdcage.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she is taken to the piano.
Because
Yeah.
Dildani saves her from the birdcage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
'Cause there's a trap door.
Yeah.
If we're talking about favorite scenes, I did enjoy Del Dario. I really did.
Dildano.
Dildano, sorry.
Dildano, because he was just, I don't know. I like that little bit of levity because I think that's the thing. We want to do comedy all the way through. And that's probably why I noticed this scene the most because it was the one point
It
where
should still be
seemed-
campy like Flash Gordon was.
Yeah, it
But-
seemed where the comedy was actually kind of almost
yeah.
working.
There feels like Jeopardy in Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I'm see the other thing about that particular scene is that stood out is it stuck out like a sore thumb
Yeah,
because
she
it
needs-
was the only place where you kind of got that campy.
Yeah, you're always expecting the
Physical
sexual
comedy.
rescue.
Yeah.
So she's going to thank somebody by fucking them. So we need to see her get out of certain situations to see her that she is a very capable woman.
Yes.
She needs to be a capable woman
Yes.
in this day and age.
Yeah, no, she needs to have a little more badass in her.
Oh, for sure.
She's an agent, or
Yeah.
I don't even think she has to be sent on a mission per se. I do like exploring the galaxy, but she gets and maybe she's gets a signal from her government that this guy's missing, and she just happens to be close by and
Yeah.
answers the
That's
Yeah.
what I'd
call.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the-
she's just nearby.
Yeah, and she says if you happen to run into him, we need to find him. Let us know where he is.
Yeah, it's
right?
crucial
Yeah.
information.
This
that
is where we
could
last
set
saw
the
him.
galaxy into war.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is where we last detected him, and it's near where you are. So, just saying.
I'm not too crazy about the whole death ray thing either. That's a very 50s, 60s sci-fi trope, and it doesn't really work that well. In fact, it's not a death ray. He sends his victims to the
the
fourth dimension
dimension.
because it's horrible. But
Yeah.
how is it horrible? We don't even know why it's horrible.
yeah, and I mean the fact that they use it to kill off like all the other characters in the movie,
Yeah.
like all of them.
Yeah, right?
I'm just wondering what we would have because part of the reason he's ran is because he seems to be the first human in so many years who's
Developed a
terrible
weapon.
enough to develop a weapon.
Yeah, right.
So I'm wondering, is that like something we kind of keep, like it doesn't have to be positronic ray.
And
but-
why was he aged? Like she was
They
looking
explained
for
that
some.
because of the way the Matmos was feeding off of his
Yeah.
evil, it aged him, and they explained that during the
So he's that evil that he's very succulent.
yes, right.
Why would you stay?
Because he benefits from.
He's obsessed by it, I
Yeah,
guess.
he's obsessed by it. Yeah, and that's sort of the.
And he's free to do his experiments.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the things we have to sort of focus on too. Is it's a sycophantic relationship, right? The Matmos feeds off their evil, but it's like a drug. They have to stay close to it because once he starts feeding off them, they kind of get a high from it, and it makes them they kind of that cycle, right? They become more evil. They do more evil acts because they're constantly in that euphoric state from the Matmos, right?
Right.
it's an addiction.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go with that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's affecting our bad guy as well.
Yeah.
He's addicted to the Matmos just like everybody else.
Which comes to like my one theory about the children, though. Like I love the one where the children trying to kill Barbarella,
Yeah.
but I had actually kind of a different take of it when I was thinking about it. Is that perhaps the reason the children are trying to kill Barbarella is they basically do try to kill all adults who come after them because they realize that any adult who comes by comes to take the children away, and they're like, if we grow up, we'll become evil. And
Right.
that's why they're also banished, because actually that would be the children are innocent enough and can't be truly evil. The Matmos doesn't want them nearby.
Yeah. And that gives a lot more rationale for why they're sent out.
I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
and the kids, they're trying to kill Barbarella, but it's simply she's just an
It's
adult.
it's self-preservation.
Yeah, children aren't born evil, and yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. Why they would be exiled until they got to a more mature age.
And then they become evil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, circumstances they could go. They're able to go back to the city.
I think puberty is probably when they were taking it. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I think that always seems to be a tipping point for humanity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a little crazy around that time.
Well, and I mean that plays more again into the whole sexual awakening theme of the movie too, right? Is puberty? That's when you start to discover your sexual feelings for most people, right? So it would make sense that's when
you
would be
can start
acceptable to the
twisting
atmosphere.
them into that city. Yeah.
Oh, and it can also be they notice those sexual feelings are at that time, and because the way they view sex as power and just they use it in such a twisted way, they want to ensure that beginning sexual awakening is twisted at that beginning point.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, is the Matmos, I'm guessing, I'd like to know more about what that is, per se. Is it one gigantic organism, or is it like a coral reef where it's bazillions of tiny organisms that make up this much bigger organism?
Or like that
is
big-
that the apex predator on this planet?
Or like there's mushrooms, like there's fungus that's actually like over miles on Earth. Like you can have that, something like that, where there's portions of it, but it is essentially one organism.
Yeah, it's essentially one organism, like that grove of trees, right, where they all share a root system, right? So I think that would work really well. Well, I don't know if work is the right word, but it's definitely something that we need to think about. Is how is it one single? It's not even a sentient entity, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm wondering about this.
It's pure id.
This
Yeah.
labyrinth as well. I mean, if you're thinking in terms of heaven and hell, I guess that would be in the in-between.
Yeah.
That's purgatory.
And I think like if Barbarella, like part of her appearance kind of imbues some of these poor souls with like a little bit of hope, and hope is the one thing that can kind of help destroy
Well,
this
I'm kind
labyrinthian
of wondering,
thing.
like, maybe that's another organism. Like, why are some of these people being encased in the stone in
Could
the
be an
first place?
extension of the Matmos, maybe.
Well, it's
Could
like
be,
anybody
because it's
who-
right outside the city.
It's right outside the city, but I was thinking more it's like you have some people who are prone to addictive personalities and become addicted fairly quickly, right? These are people who have, for whatever reason, are able to resist the effects of the Matmos and therefore can't provide it the energy that it wants, and therefore should not. They don't want them in the city, right? So they get banished to the labyrinth, right?
Ooh, it's like a scar. It's like a scar for the Matmos. Like it's something that can harm the Matmos, but it's like, you know, when you get like a callus, it's Matmos callus. It's something that protects it.
I just I need motivation for the
People to be
in there and to start being calloused over. Like, you know, the blind angel can maneuver through it just fine. I want to see it somewhat risk her as well. Like, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why how
Well,
it works. Why some people were affected, some people weren't.
Well, I think it's a level of despair. I think, right?
Yes.
That's what Trish was saying, and pointed out, and I think that's what it was supposed to represent. I think she's right. Is
Giving
that,
into despair.
Yeah, it's like they couldn't live there anymore, so they just allow themselves to be absorbed by the wall, or the walls of the labyrinth. And those walls should always be changing. They're always kind of growing and breaking and growing and breaking. So it's not like a man-made labyrinth. It's basically this organism like you're right, an extension of the Matmos,
awesome. Yeah.
right? That is always changing, right? And they're always having to move to avoid being absorbed by it.
Oh, this is part of the Matmos maybe that's changed by its environment.
Yeah.
It's so far out. It's more like a fingernail rather than the skin.
Right, and it still gets nourishment from these people who've finally given in, right? Because despair is another source of food for it, right, or energy for it.
It's just not as a powerful one.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and I love the idea how it's like always moving and breaking because it's a labyrinth. It will be constantly, they can't find a way out ever because it's constantly
always changing. Yeah, right.
Go see our Monolith Monsters episode.
Right. But that would also explain your people in the rocks, because they've given up. They just sit there and let the walls grow over them. They're now part of the labyrinth instead of living in it.
Yeah, except we see like there's one particular couple that's still kind of touching each other, but they're both encased at the same time. And it seems like they're almost trying to comfort each other during this moment of despair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. It's like they is it kind of like we've given up, but we still there's still just enough love there, and that may be why they stand out a little bit too, is because the Matmos fingernail can't quite fully absorb them.
And maybe it's the love that's kind of trying to help them escape.
Yeah.
Like the old couple in
Interesting.
Titanic.
If you change your emotion, and that's what escapes. So now we got to give Barbarella a moment of despair to break free of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's
got to wander off on her own or something, get lost in the maze.
I think it should happen before she's ever saved by Pygar.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, because
Pygar finds her in the maze.
Yeah, because she's already lost her, had crashed twice.
Mm-hmm.
She's now lost. She has no idea where she is. Her ship is completely broken. I mean, what perfect moment for a moment of despair.
Right.
Awesome.
Right? Like it is that moment where you just want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And then when Pygar saves her, that whole thing, like when he has no will to fly, like they save each other. Like it's the whole...
Yeah, it certainly makes that moment that even more powerful, right? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I see our Barbarella being, like we talked about, more competent. She's more skilled at physical combat. She doesn't fall down as much.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Pygar, he's got his own despair, but I think because of just the nature of what he is,
He's all alone.
yeah, it still can't be touched by something like the Matmos or even the maze itself.
Yeah. There's something about him that makes him special.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, that would be the worst part. He's immune, but he has to watch all these other people die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, he
That's
can't even
his
see that,
blindness.
right? He just knows that people that he was talking to are no longer there, because he can't even see them because he's blind.
We got to address that last little bit because angels have no memory.
Yes,
Fuck that. Then when she shows up and starts reaching for the gun in his crotch, hey lady.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that line has to change. It should be more along the lines of like forgiveness. Like angels are forgiveness. I
Yes.
don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a really actually a great line in there, where it's like angels don't love, angels are love, right? I mean, that should be.
Because he
Almost
rescues
repeated
the
verbatim at that moment.
Yeah.
It should be angels are forgiveness, right?
I do like that he rescues the great tyrant,
Yeah.
despite
But you could have
not like the tyrant gave her
True.
a choice.
Yeah,
But you could have like another bit too, like with the great tyrant, like the Black Queen, she is also very greatly affected by the Matmos and is
Yeah.
being somewhat removed from its influence. She
By
might be
being
slightly
around
changed.
Vaporella.
Yeah.
Or no, Barbarella.
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 Yeah,
Vaporella's something else, also in the 70s.
Yeah,
though.
like to have her slightly
Another sex movie.
experience a change where that would be kind of.
it
just
makes her
have a moment.
aware of how she's being influenced by the Matmos, but she still can't quite break free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she sees Barbarella and goes, "Oh, this person's free. There's something about her that's different than everybody else, and it's what's attracts."
She's very attracted to Barbarella.
yeah, and
Pretty.
and
Pretty.
and I love that. I love the fact she calls her pretty all the
That's
time.
got to stay.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think that's part of what needs to sort of be expressed is that it's that innocence and that freedom from the Matmos that she finds appealing beyond the physical attributes of Barbarella, because she recognizes in herself that she doesn't really want to be under the influence of the Matmos, but doesn't know how to break free.
Yeah, she's a queen, but she's not free.
No, exactly.
Yeah, okay, we got to address the Chamber of Dreams.
Yeah, I don't really know.
The stupid invisible key with the invisible
What is it?
doors
Oh.
and the lava lamp walls.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, I'm guessing that's where that's her moment to kind of decompress, and I think that's the place where she has a moment to escape the evil. The Matmos can't touch her, but there is a rule there. Like, she can only be in there, otherwise the Matmos, comes to the Matmos.
Yeah.
But is this a chamber where she gets to decompress and just escape the Matmos's influence for a few moments?
And I think it could be also that same thing. Like the Matmos, it doesn't have a sentience, but it has a sense of self-preservation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it knows that if it takes too much from her, it'll kill her.
What if maybe this is where her dark dreams power the city?
Yeah.
Her dark intents, like the little torture chambers and things like that. This is all driven from her dark mind.
Nightmares.
Her nightmare. Yeah, she just suffers from night terrors.
Yeah. Yeah, because of all the horrible things that she has to see and do every single day in order to feed the Matmos, right? And then, of course, the Matmos feeds through her nightmares.
Yeah,
like
we do see she's like rocking and rolling while she's sleeping.
Yeah.
She's just moving around. So we can see that maybe screams and that sort of thing. And we can see that dark imagery and, again, something that can cause threat to Barbarella while she's in that room.
Right, and then that would explain why the Matmos would kill anybody else in that room, because that individual could be disturbing the sleep, could be disturbing the nightmares. Right, maybe when Barbarella comes in, the queen calms down. She the nightmares
Changes the nature of her dreams
because of the presence of somebody who's not affected by the Matmos.
Yeah,
Right.
she's all of a sudden getting a more restful. She's in a more restful place, more restful sleep.
Yeah. But I like the idea of them being locked into that space because it gives you an end game.
Yeah.
Right. And it gives the tyrant sort of redemption that he just kind of shows that she's not really the bad guy. She's just the conduit for the
best
madness.
villains are the ones that have some redeemable or understandable quality.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only way she can protect her citizens is to feed it some other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's sacrificing her sanity to do this.
Because, this has probably made her completely mad over so many
She
years.
does come off pretty insane.
Yes.
Yeah, but she probably has been alive for a while, I think, too. I think this thing kind of keeps her young. To
Yeah,
keep
and
the
I think
cycle
that's
going.
feeds
part of the
off
other
others.
thing of the energy of dreams, or the Chamber of Dreams, is it gives her a different kind of energy so that she can stay young and right. It's almost like a rejuvenation, because with Duran, it makes him older, right? But with her, she's kind of timeless and young. And I think that's part of it. Is their the real symbiotic relationship? Is she feeds it through the energies, through her people and through her own nightmares, but it gives her back her youthful energies.
It's like it's tending its garden where it gets its food from.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we said, with the narcotic qualities of being in this city, that's enough motivation to keep people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Okay.
I like, because the Matmos, that was the
It's
one
weird
thing I
and
was
cool.
struggling with is like, what was the Matmos? What does it do? And that was, they sort of talk about it, but they never really address it in the original. It's just this thing.
It's just this thing
that feeds off evil energies, and then when it breaks free, it destroys the whole city, right? And I like that kind of closure.
It's the cabin in the woods ending.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right.
It feeds and destroys the city.
But I know
They
a
have
lot
to, and I think they'd have to escape the planet because it is
True.
the planet.
Yeah,
It's
kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
there's an irony there, right? Because as soon as it's free of its bondage or its chains, it then destroys the very thing that's keeping it alive.
Yeah, I mean, there's this symbiosis happening, and they're keeping it at bay to power
Yeah.
this city.
I know, and I just keep thinking about all
it's,
those
it's
people.
somewhat of a victim as well.
Yeah. But I think of all these people that might not have been, they just might have an addictive personality. They might not have been, they were victims as well of this whole addictive thing, and they're dying. And I don't know, I would like a note about that.
It
Like
is
maybe
a-
the Queen saying,
it's a dead
all
end
my
city.
people are dead.
Yeah, it is a dead and dying city because all they really can do is hurt each other or worse.
Yeah. And there's just, you can't, it's
Because they,
unsustainable.
it doesn't sound like they leave. I don't understand any source of commerce in there. They all seem to be just in the zombie-like state.
But that is exactly that perfect analogy of addiction. Like you have people who are very addicted, and it's
That's a good commentary.
a very enclosed place. Like they just the next fix, and you just like lie and just be high.
Yeah, and that's where your Black Guard comes in, because they are. And we forgot to talk about the Black Guard.
there are addicts all over the galaxy. This is where they go.
Yeah,
So that's why more and more people keep
it's like the
coming.
Skid Row of
It's the Skid Row of the galaxy. Nice.
Yeah, and I think that's where the Black Guard comes in. Is not only are they her guards, but they are also kind of the machinery that keeps the city going, and so it keeps these people alive by making sure that they have sustenance and that they are eating. Like they're almost like nursemaids in some ways.
Yeah, they're enablers.
They're
What
enablers,
if, what if in the 401st century, like, if you are that person that kills or hurts and harms or just does anything evil or is a drug addict, instead of trying to help through
Australia.
therapies or whatever, that they just send them to Sogo, to
It
lithium.
can make the city so much bigger.
Oh yeah,
it could be almost
it could
encompassing
be
the planet.
Yeah.
Oh,
with these small little pockets.
Yeah.
Ooh, but then you could have like so much more happen where like, okay, the people who are in the labyrinth of despair, like you say, they aren't actually the true evil people. Like they might have been like wrongfully accused, or they were stuck in a situation they couldn't help, or like they were put there because they shouldn't be there. That's part of the problem. But you can have Barbarella kind of come to this realization, like the president is sent here, but the president has sent other people here. And she's realizing there might be some corruption back in her own planet, right?
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, where, her innocence is being tested all the time with conspiracy.
Yeah. I like it.
Nice.
It's an awakening on so many levels.
Yes, it's not just a personal sexual awakening, but it's a discovering the real galaxy that's out there, and this piece has come at a great price, and it's evil as well.
Yeah.
And it also, if we ever do a sequel, it opens that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives us...
Oh, yeah, and they've wanted to do sequels, they've wanted to do remakes.
Yeah,
there's been so many people attached to sequels. Roger Vadim wanted to do a sequel fairly quickly after this one in 1969.
1969. Yeah, they were talking about it then.
Yeah, they were talking about it then, and it just kept going and going and going. It would come up every 5 to 10 years, and it keeps coming up. The Robert Rodriguez had the rights to it at one point, but he wanted around $80 million to do it, and the Paramount wouldn't get behind it, or it might have been Warner at that point. I think it might have been bought up by Warner now. But Paramount initially made this film, so I don't know where the rights lie, and maybe they're back in purgatory in the Labyrinth somewhere.
Yeah. They're stuck in the Labyrinth, suffering from despair.
Yeah.
But like you say, there's been talk about this for decades. Like I think at one point Drew Barrymore was supposed to be Barbarella.
She was.
Oh, please,
Rose
no.
McGowan was
McGowan.
supposed to be in Robert Rodriguez's. But anytime Robert Rodriguez wants to do some female-led movie, Red Sonja, it's always Rose McGowan. No slight on Rose, she's awesome. But come on, sometimes you got to cast the part.
Yeah. But like you were talking before, like she would make a great Black Queen.
Yeah, I would have, if she had been in there, I wouldn't have made her Barbarella. I would have made her the Great Tyrant.
Yeah.
She would have been much cooler as a Great Tyrant.
There have been so much nuance there, and that's what you need in the Great Tyrant, really, I think.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Which brings us to some exciting casting. I'm so excited to do casting. It's going to be so much fun. Sam, do you want to lead us out?
I will lead us out, because I had a sort of theme in mind when I was doing my casting.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking we're in the 400th century, or 4000th
401st century.
It's got to be 4000.
When they promoted the film, no, they said it was the 401st century, but it's never actually said within the body of the film, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, I'm just thinking that we're in the far-flung future.
But each century is 100, so 401st
we're only
is
in the
400.
21st.
Yes.
It's 40,100.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's so I'm thinking that we're over 2,000 years away from where we are. We're
For sure. By a large margin.
Yes. So I was thinking that I wanted to go with sort of, I don't want to say a non-racial cast, but I went with sort of a homogenous cast, right?
I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of sort of that dusky tone, not really of any race.
Yeah, I didn't do that because I think it would still...
Yeah,
I think there'd still be differences depending on planets and stuff that have been colonized.
Yeah, and I think that I did do that to a certain extent.
Mainly, there was one person I cast, and it just made me chuckle thinking about it. So
yeah, well, and it's funny
You'll
when I was
chuckle when I think.
the reason I went the way I did was because when I was watching it, I was thinking of a specific actress as Barbarella. Right away, it popped into my head.
She was the last one to come to mind.
That I had trouble.
So
I did
hard.
not. I believe it or not, I did not have any trouble with it, and it wasn't even because of my homogenous casting. It was just I'm like, she'd make a really cool Barbarella. So I went with, I think it's Natalie, but it's spelled Nathalie Emmanuel from Game of Thrones, Fast and Furious. She
came across my list. I almost put her in there.
I thought about her.
Yeah, she popped into my head. She's beautiful, a beautiful woman.
She's exquisite.
She is comfortable with her body. You've seen her do nudity in other movies, so if nudity is required, you know that she's willing to do it as long as it fuels the story, right? So I'm like, yes, absolutely. I liked her. Thought she'd make a great Barbarella, and she's also capable of physical acting too, as we've seen. Mm-hmm. Right? For my Duran Duran, I went with Mr. Ben Kingsley.
Nice.
He's a little old, but I thought he'd bring a gravitas to it that was missing from Milo O'Shea's performance.
He's supposed to be old.
Yeah.
I do have a more powerful guy, but you'll see it when I cast it. When I cast it, I think you might be proud of this one. I was very proud of my Duran Duran.
For my Great Tyrant,
it was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, see, he was my last. For my Great Tyrant, I went with Elodie Young.
Tell me more about her.
Elektra, Daredevil.
Oh, of course, yes. Thank you. I did. It wasn't popping in my brain. I'm like, I know that name.
Yes.
I hate that when you're like, oh, do you need more?
Yeah. For my Professor Ping, I went with Rosario Dawson. Also,
Sweet.
Daredevil. Sorry, I didn't realize I was doing it when I did it, but
Okay.
For my Dildano, I did with Lenny
Okay.
Kravitz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because I loved him in Hunger Games. I thought he brought
He was really good.
Okay.
a sense of whimsy to him.
I do like that.
Yeah. And then for my Pygar, I went with Cam Giganadet. He was in the movie we did last week.
Yes.
He was one of the bad guy's henchmen. He was the one that got away during the first gunfight scene.
Okay.
Really handsome, very, very the antithesis to the rest of the cast because he's sort of pale and blonde and
Yeah, that's something I had to keep in mind was that physical beauty that they did have in this movie.
Yeah.
See, I do have mine as beautiful. He's not quite blonde, but like I thought I think he's a beautiful man.
Hair
so-
dye.
Yeah, but I wanted that juxtaposition, right? The angel, I wanted the angel to be that different because everybody else is kind of that really nice caramel colored skin, and then you have this white person with the blonde hair, and so he's going to look it's just going to make him look that much more ethereal on screen because he's separate from them.
Okay.
Right? And then for my director, I was Jon Favreau because I think that he's very good at handling action and comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was something I was looking for in my directors as well.
And I mean, he can go dark. We've seen him do some very dark stuff, so you can see he can bring that darkness into it along with that lightheartedness.
Nice.
Trish.
All right. So for my Barbarella, which was very hard to come by, but then I thought of a couple things she did, and then she came straight to mind. Sofia Boutella. I know the Mummy movie, but she was great as Jayla in Star Trek Beyond, so I like that acting.
She was.
aspect.
Yes.
I mean, Mummy, terrible movie, but she was really
Yeah,
good
I
in Star
blame a
Trek
lot of
Beyond.
that on Tom Cruise. I don't think that's her fault.
No. No, well, she was made a flat character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect, that Jayla actiony combined with her character in Atomic Blonde, which I told you last week. I saw. I'm like going, man, if Sofia Boutella came up and flirted with me like that, I probably totally would, because like there's some earnestness, like an unabashed sexuality about her that I really really like.
Yeah.
So I think she'd be a great Barbarella.
Yeah,
And
I like it.
for the Black Queen, I went with Deborah Ann Wool,
Okay.
who was in our Mother's Day episode.
Yes,
And
right.
also in Daredevil, a lot of references back to Daredevil this week, I guess.
Or Daredevil in it, because I think she's got kind of that severe look. She's very beautiful, but I like what I think she can do with it.
Okay.
And plus, I like them age appropriate if I'm going to match them up.
Yeah, I try to keep most of my cast in the 20s to 30s, with the except for Duran Duran.
Yeah, I think my Pygar's a little old, but he's supposed to be older, I think, because he's an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for Duran Duran, I went with Christopher Walken just because I think it's fun.
That's taking it a different direction.
You both went really old in your Duran Durans.
Yeah, we did, yeah. But like I said, I wanted that presence that
Right.
you get from a Ben Kingsley type, and I couldn't think of anybody else who has that same kind of
I'm
presence.
like, yours are in
Yeah.
the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Mine's in the 60s.
I'm going straight madness. That's what I want.
Yeah, and you've definitely got the madness.
Yeah, for sure.
For my Dildano, I have Kumail Nanjiani because I think he's really funny and he's just cute. I think he could pull off that cute comic
Nice.
role.
Yeah, I did something similar with my casting of Dildano. So.
He's got to be funny.
Yeah, funny and cute.
Pygar, I actually went Byung-Hun Lee, basically because Magnificent Seven, I'm like, fuck, that guy's beautiful to look at.
And you know what? That works.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know
I love
why.
that idea.
Yeah, no, I totally love that. Can I
Can't
change
look away
mine?
and
And
love
that,
it.
I mean, and that's something
And
I want to bring
both
up.
went to last week again for casting too.
You know, that's something that does bug me about Hollywood casting, where you'll take somebody white or olive skinned and who's not native and cast them as an Indian, or
Yeah.
why. And sometimes when you do have a native, they only get native roles, and same with Asian actors. Why does that have to be that way? So.
Exactly.
It's just a person, so why not?
Yeah.
Like, an Asian man is still a beautiful man and
Yeah.
can be an
No,
angel.
I-
Absolutely,
Beauty
I
is
am
beauty.
totally on board with that, because I don't think there's enough of that kind of casting. So
I have
well
to-
done.
I have to
Thank you.
agree. Like I said, I was going with a homogenous cast anyhow, but the only reason I picked what I did was because I wanted that contrast. But when you talk about it, I'm like, no, that's better.
Yeah,
It's just, I thought just beauty. I keep thinking about it when I look through. What's funny is when I go through IMDb and I look at things like most attractive actors under like 30, and it's sort of sometimes it's such a homogenous, very
It's
white
all
list.
the same looking guy. They all look exactly the same. They're all white and pretty, chiseled jaw, blue eyes.
they all look like mannequins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I find that unnerving.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some some beautiful like East Asian actors where I'm like, they are just like jaw-droppingly gorgeous, and they don't get
That's
the work
totally
they
making
should.
me rethink my casting in certain regards.
Well, that's the beauty of casting is we
Yeah.
can take each parts of each other's casting
Yeah.
and come up with a whole cast that works. That's
And
why they
work
have
with Ben
casting directors.
Kingsley.
Yeah. Although I'm committed to mine now because it's too late for me to start looking up some new names.
Yeah.
And I've got one more for I put Professor Ping, Jermaine Clement.
Mm-hmm.
I put him as Professor Ping, Flight of the Conchords.
Okay.
Just
Nice.
because he's funny and I love him. For a director, I came up with two, but I think I'm leaning towards my second choice. Lexi Alexander. She did Punisher
Yeah.
Warzone.
Nice. I love
She can
Lexi's
do
stuff.
action, and she's so sparky.
Yeah, and I think she could really say something with a movie like this because she's very open and a personality. I think she would touch on whatever subject she could and approach this from a very interesting perspective. So Lexi Alexander is a brilliant choice on that as well.
I don't want to see her get lots of work. I think she's just really cool.
Yeah. Okay, for mine, let's see. I almost feel like I gave up a little bit this, but I mean, if you're going to remake Barbarella, you need star power. Mm-hmm. And so this might feel like a bit of a cheat, but I with Margot Robbie because goddamn, I want to see her naked anyway.
And I get it. Like she's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other cast would definitely be attracted to her. I had to keep that in mind, and she's certainly young and pretty. For my Pygar, I went with Alex Pettifer from I Am a Number 4
Yeah.
and Magic Mike.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the people I was looking at as well.
Yeah, but now that I'm thinking about it,
And he looks like a lot like the original guy.
yeah, what's that Netflix show with the 8 people that are linked but from
Sense8?
Sense8?
Sense8, thank you, Sense8. The gay actor that plays the gay actor. I don't know who that guy is, but he would be a awesome Pygar.
Yeah, he would be.
I just don't know his name. You guys can go look it up. But it just popped into my
We'll
brain.
put it in the notes.
Yeah, it popped into my brain when we were talking about that, and I'm like, that I think is even a better choice.
There's
He's
so many
cool.
beautiful people out there.
Yeah, and yeah,
But you want not just beautiful, but ethereal, right?
ethereal.
Yeah.
And I think he's got that. So you'll appreciate this one, Sam. For my great tyrant, Christina Ocha.
Okay. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking about her. She came across as my other casting
And
too.
I'd like to recognize RIP Blood Drive. This is a terrible, terrible death for me and Sam.
Yes.
The cancellation of Blood Drive on its 13th episode. It was a good 13 episodes.
Yes.
She's
We will miss you.
amazing.
We will miss you very, very much.
Oh.
Right? And I'm not saying any more because I don't think Jay's seen the final episode yet.
Nope, not yet.
So I won't say anything else except that I'm very, very
And
sad.
I
Yeah.
haven't yet, but I thought about her too because she's just such a badass.
Yeah, she's a badass, and I want to make her the great tyrant, and she's knockout gorgeous as well.
Well, then she's available now.
Yeah, that's right. She's got call her agent. She's ready. For my concierge / Duran Duran, Alfred Molina. And just
Love it.
seeing your faces, I was really proud of that one.
You
That
should
is
be.
perfect.
For my Professor Ping, I wanted somebody who could have a similar neurosis and neurotic vibe to him that Marcel Marceau brought to that role. I went with Neil Patrick Harris. Another one I was quite proud of.
I'd love to make him up.
And he's
like,
about
just
the same
quirky
age as
looking.
Marcel when he did that part. So
Yeah.
But I don't know, Neil Patrick Harris, he's doing a Highlander thing. He's becoming ageless, and it's unnerving a little bit.
yeah, I mean, you got to age him up a bit. He doesn't have to be, I guess.
No.
Yeah,
if
you
he's
can age
escaped
him
the
up.
city, but
Yeah.
we should see maybe some. I would love to see some of the exiles from the city show certain signs and scars from being in the city.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, like young people with
Like
weird
patches of white
wrinkles.
hair and weird wrinkles. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool. For my Mark Hand, just because this made me laugh, just seeing them all hairy. Idris Elba.
Oh,
Nice.
hell yeah. See, I didn't cast that, but damn, I'm in.
Yeah, right? And what girl wouldn't?
Oh, yeah. Here's the deal. I'm going to be, okay, I've never done sex the old way before, but if Idris Elba is there, I'm super curious to find out.
Yes. And if anybody's going to want to do it with the pill and the hand way, let's go with Dildano. Dildo.
That's what I kept thinking.
Dildano. I'm sure that was on purpose. Dildano Justin Long.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Quirky, but
Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be that
Nothing
he
works
would
around
bring
him. Totally see it.
that awkwardness of that character would be astounding.
Very well captured, yes.
Yes, so Justin Long, I would totally bring that to the part, and the comedy that you really need out of that character.
Yeah, because he's very good at
I think he's
playing straight comedy straight.
He's so underrated.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But he seems to get a lot of these infantilized characters too. Like I'd like to see him be a little more, have more adult stuff happen.
Yeah, not this go round. Not for me anyway.
No, but I kind of.
But yes, he does.
I kind of like him. The idea of like he's an adult. He's playing like it's the revolution. He's playing at. He's trying so hard, but people are still following him.
Yeah,
he's still the best one they got.
He's not super capable, but he's the only one stepping up.
And who did you pick for your director?
Oh, Sam Raimi.
Nice.
Okay.
I think he's could do that balance of the darkness that we need.
We've seen it
with the kooky humor as well. So
we've seen it more than once from him.
Absolutely,
Oh, hell yeah.
Just take that aspect that he brought to Army of Darkness and move it into science fiction. And we know he loves science fiction. It's just he hasn't really got a chance to stretch into that territory as of yet. So that would be, I think, a fun movie.
And I mean, he's shown he knows how to work with the big budgets, so it's not going to be a problem for him.
Oh yeah, so no, he's going to use that money carefully, and that's going to be
as long as the studio stays out of his business.
Well, and that's the thing. Robert Rodriguez tried to get $80 million, and the studio wasn't willing to bite at that price. And Rodriguez can stretch $1.
Well, didn't he have? And then there was like he thought he might have gotten a second deal like overseas with another
German company, but it'd have to be completely produced in Germany as well.
And he didn't want to be away.
He didn't want to be away. From
if he can't work in Texas, he don't work.
Yeah. Yeah, it was going to tear him away from his family too long. I mean, maybe down the road when his kids are older, and he can do that. We might see him do that, but he really likes to stay, in Texas, and
he
that's
has a
fine.
good work-life balance.
He's loyal to shooting where he lives, and that's fine. That brings money into that region, and God knows Texas could use an influx right now after what happened in Houston. Yeah. So the hurricanes.
Well, are they?
Donate
is it done?
to your local Red Cross guys.
Yeah, they're. Texas is
that
one is done.
That
but
one's done. Irma's coming through at a Category 5,
and there's a Category 3 falling right behind her now.
Oh God!
Like right on the same path, apparently.
That's awful. What's Richard Branson? He hunkered down in his place and was playing board games with his people, and they just hunkered down in the middle of the hurricane.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do.
I'm sure he built his place pretty strong, but. Insanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we've already established that he's probably not quite sane. So
yeah, that's well documented. I don't know. I just keep thinking like the U.S. is like, we'll build a wall, and the weather's like, hold my beer.
I got to say, I might be a little disappointed in you today. I think Sam and I were expecting a lot of feminist rage from you today.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Yeah, no, I feel. From a certain aspect, what I came into this doing, knowing you guys. Here's the deal. This isn't a good way. Is you would get why some of this stuff is problematic. There's no reason for me to be upset about because you understand it. And I think that what we've done here is like we've taken this movie could have been a feminist movie. It could have been.
Yeah, it could have been.
But it was completely mishandled, and that's what the problem is. So. I was completely aware of that. I'm like, that's already been addressed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of the problem. But but we already knew that was the whole deal.
We're gonna have to work harder at poking the bear.
Yeah, sometimes we were hoping for a few of those moments because they add a little pizzazz.
We do add a little pizzazz.
Instead, we got rage in 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah,
that deserved it.
You never know when it's going to come out.
But here's the thing: you have to balance off the magic.
She's not going to just give it in the obvious places.
And I know you didn't get rage today, but you got we didn't go anywhere, but you totally charged my box.
Yes.
So
that is definitely a highlight moment in this show.
So really, I'll give you whatever you want, but yeah, I think that was a better thing.
Ooh, Sam's married.
Yeah, I was saying, that was maybe not the best follow-up to charge box, but
not the intention. But I truly believe that the idea behind the character of Barbarella, it's a feminist character.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But mishandled, it's terrible.
A weeping damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the source material, I do not think she's that. So
No,
it
she's
was
not.
just
She's actually
completely
quite
mishandled.
heroic. I mean, she ends up in similar situations in the comic, because I read like 2 issues, and both were kind of the same setup. She gets into a pickle, but she steps up, takes control of the situation, and then solves a problem that she...
We really need her. I think we need to see her really inspire Dildano.
Yes.
She needs to be the one that inspires him to be a greater leader, even though they all get wiped out.
Which I wouldn't do in our remake. I don't think... I think that's...
A few key people have to die, but not everybody.
Not everybody.
No.
And I still don't like that death ray thing, but that
No.
wasn't out of the comics. That was thrown in by one of the last script writers.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. You don't even have to have a death ray. I think part of it, he's hungry for power.
I think he's figured out a way to channel that. I mean, yes, he's somebody, maybe a person of interest, because he holds some of the secrets to the Earth government and knows what they've done. And maybe maybe he had initially good intentions of going to this planet, realizing what's happening here, and this is basically a prison planet.
Yeah.
And wants to make people aware, and that's initially why Earth is interested in capturing him. But he's also fell into that corruption, and with the scientific brain, and knows how to utilize it, and can make this into a weapon himself. And he's been completely corrupted by this planet.
Yeah, no, I think that
that.
the idea of him trying to turn the Matnos itself into a weapon is that so that he can take over all of the federations of Earth, right?
Yeah.
And it's through the tyrants freeing the Matmos that destroys this city. But he's the one who's utilizing it to its own ends. And maybe that's why he's aging faster, is because he's the one who's using... Finally, it's not just being corrupted by it, but he's going to use it for his own means.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking about something uncontrollable being made into a weapon. For another degree, we have Alien. We have Jurassic World. We have, what else is there? There's a few others.
There's probably an endless list.
Terminator.
Terminator. Yeah, on something uncontrollable, and like, hey, that make a great weapon, not thinking, hey, that's a weapon that we can't control.
Yes. Yes, always the humanity's stupid
Hubris,
thinking they control whatever is out there. And it's definitely can be utilized as a weapon. So.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, if you do it right, this whole movie can be a commentary on greed and narcissism and vanity and all those things that we consider to be not desirable to personality traits, and just sort of blow them up to like the point where they're almost a parody of themselves. Right. And in order to keep it from going too dark, they would have to be almost a parody of themselves, like they were in this movie, right?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like smoking the essence of man. I said that was one of my other favorite scenes. I like the whole essence of man thing. I thought it was rather kind of funny and kitschy, and one of the better written bits.
Yeah, well, it is a female-led city, so I really like the fact that men should probably be the underclass of this city.
Yeah. Which also could be something that gets under Duran's skin, because he is a narcissist and he's crazy.
Yeah, and he's subservient to
The Queen,
the Great Tyrant, which also makes it interesting as to why he wants to lock them both in there, right? Because he kind of touches on that, is in order for me to become ruler, I have to get rid of the tyrant first, right? So that you really want to play that up, is that he serves her, but he does not like her at all. He resents her in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
so good. This is the thing, like, it's amazing. It's for such a camp 1968 movie. Like, the way we figured it, there's so many themes that's in there. They're actually kind of in there, but they never did anything with them.
Well, they pop up and then they fizzle. It's like pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's just grabbing hold of those themes and running with them. That's, I think, what they really need to do with this, and really start saying some stuff. And it's going to be entertaining. You know, we just got to have her be more proactive. And you know, we don't have to have. I think there's things we can do away with and have a little more intrigue. Like the birdcage is dumb, and the suicide booth. I would just like to see that advertising in the city.
Yeah.
You know? It's a
very,
nod.
very out of like RoboCop, Total Recall, right?
Yeah, like this city is really bare bones, and we need to really see this as a functioning and large,
thriving urban
city.
center. Yeah.
And I think what's happened too is in many ways when we're talking about like how things have become so so Puritan. Part of it is we've gone completely backwards in terms of like 50 Shades of Grey. There's a woman, she's basically just completely victimized by her sexuality. But any female sexuality, like I would like to see a movie where it is just, there's a joy to it and an excitement that's, yeah, it's hers. She loves it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
And
absolutely
that would
right.
be so wonderful to see in a movie.
Ooh, those creepy kids with the dolls. The dolls are powered with little bits of Matmos in their brains as their brains.
Ooh, I like it.
These are some of the first experiments that have escaped the city. Some of the first technology based on using the Matmos,
And
in different ways.
I'm kind of excited by like what new designs we can make with those dolls, because you can really make them nightmare fuel.
Yeah, and those things are kind of creepy already. So yeah, the way
I like the fact that it kind of looked like the old timey dolls. Like that added, and then those razor metal teeth. It just added a creepiness to it. You could make them look slightly more creepy, but have the brain sort of exposed, so you can see the Matmos sort of like sloshing around in it.
I also want to make them
like the
more
nightmare
mobile.
fuel.
Like I don't want them. I want them somewhat less doll-like, which would be very unnerving.
Very cool. Well, I dig that. I'm wondering what our audience would add to this movie as well, and if you got some inspiration from the comic strip that we never got to read, you could also write to us about that as well. You can send all that info to our Twitter page at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion the Remake on Facebook. Go like our page and interact with us there, and Invasion the Remake at gmail.com.
Woohoo!
And no need to thank us with sex. You could just thank us with a 5-star review and a rating on iTunes.
But Jay and Trish wouldn't turn down sex with the right person.
Nudity is not required, but
Again,
it's
the right
appreciated.
Person. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're somebody we get along with and would totally hang with, because I was thinking about this the other day. If you're going to have sex with somebody and it's somebody you hate, it's usually kind of once and you kind of want them to fuck off. But if it's somebody you like, you can talk and get at least 4 or 5 more times banged out before the night's over. So it's really just a practical method to have sex with people you like.
But, 5 stars is okay too. I'll take the 5 stars. May not be as satisfying, but it gets the job done.
It's a way to show your appreciation.
That's right. So and it helps other people find the show as well. So leave a rating, leave a review, and help other people who might like this show find it. The other way you can do that is to, again, no nudity required, show your appreciation by telling people how to find the show. You already know how to do it. Tell your friends as well. We're in a variety of platforms: iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, Spreaker, and frickin' YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
God. YouTube. It's there. It's there.
It's there. We put it there.
Sorry, Matmos was influencing me there for a moment.
Isn't the Matmos running YouTube?
Oh, Jesus. It is. Frickin' YouTube.
That's where it came from. Oh no, the Matmos is here.
Well, then, yeah, it's pretty much all of Alphabet then. And is that what they call them? What the parent company's called now? Alphabet?
I don't know. I don't care.
I don't know. Alphabet just sounds like this weird.
I think it's called, because Google and YouTube are all owned by the same parent company, and I think they call themselves Alphabet.
Wow. That's like just the real life version of the Umbrella Corps in Resident Evil.
Yes. Very much. Very much. Well, as I said, there's a Jane Fonda interview I found that I will run after the credit rolls. And, if you guys haven't discovered yet, stick through the siren. Oftentimes I'll hide things there after the sirens. So if you haven't discovered those, it gives you another chance to go back to those episodes and listen to what you might have missed. Because, yes, we have the annoying sirens there, but I like to bury things after it.
It's like the Rick and Morty post-credit little nod.
Or a Marvel movie.
Or a Marvel movie. That's right.
Gotta get past the credits, guys.
That's right. Gotta get past the credits, which is just... We have the best credit roll. All right. Well, that was Barbarella, 1968. Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
And really interesting movie. It's definitely a 60s movie when you watch it. It was fun to watch, but at the same time, kind of boring because it is a flat movie and lots of interesting ideas.
Fun to
and
look
room.
at.
Yeah, fun to look at and lots of room for improvement.
Yeah. There's only one thing that has happened to me since I've watched it is I have that one kind of tune going in my head. Down, down, down. Bring me down. It's been looping through my damn head since I heard it this morning. So watch that movie, see if that happens to you.
Okay, well, I haven't had anything stuck in my brain yet, thank God. But there might be some infectious music in there, that Barbarella theme as well. Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. I've been Jasonella.
I've been Trisharella.
I'm always Salmonella.
Oh, Jesus. Poisonous. We are out of here.
I have to ask you about Barbarella. I mean, when you look back and you see yourself in that movie, now what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you see that?
I'd like to do it over again. We made some mistakes. It could have been a really strong feminist movie. For example, instead of being someone from this very evolved planet that comes to this backward evil planet and teach them how to make love by taking pills and touching fingertips. No, that's the way they would have done it. Mm-hmm. I would have brought them true intimacy. I would have taught them how to really make love. You know, when they put me into that machine that was supposed to kill me by orgasm, instead of being kind of scared and everything, I should have gotten in and laughed. No question, I'm going to blow the fuse. I wouldn't have been afraid at all.
But it was Vadim's movie, right? So he had his own ideas of what sex was about. I guess.
And I had no ideas at that time. So
it was whatever he wanted.
That was the end of my first act.
Yeah.